The saying goes, life is stranger than fiction. And it couldn't be any more true than the case that I'm about to present to you today. Take a look at the photograph that is on your screen right now. Let's try to match the crime that the, let's try to match the crime that she committed to her actual booking photo which you see. Did she A, commit a DUI, driving while under the influence of alcohol or a narcotic? B, petty theft, which could be something as simple as theft of a merchandise from a merchant, or shoplifting, if you will? Or is it C, did she commit murder, dismemberment, and illegally dumping a corpse across a 37-mile area in Greenbay, Wisconsin? The photo you see here before you is Taylor Schabusiness. Taylor Schabusiness, ladies and gentlemen, is guilty of crime C, murder in the first degree, dismemberment of a corpse, and dumping the human remains over a 37-mile area. The case against Taylor Schabusiness is bizarre, but it's not the first time something like this has played out somewhere in the world or here even in America. This case is like a lot of crimes that may have been committed by serial killers and much more hardened criminals. But this, ladies and gentlemen, was the first violent crime that Taylor Schabusiness ever committed. Oh, don't get me wrong, she has other arrests on her record, but this is the first violent crime that she has ever committed. So, what happened in this case? February 23rd of last month, Taylor Schabusiness, along with her boyfriend, on and off again boyfriend, as she called him and referred to him and during interrogations, got together and decided that it was time to get together and get higher than the Empire State Building. They would sit up for hours and hours on end, smoking methamphetamine, smoking as much as they could possibly afford with the money that they had gathered, smoking meth, and then as they came down, they would have rough sex. And by rough sex, I mean they were both into choking each other while they actually had sexual intercourse. Then, after they came down completely and took a little cat nap, they would smoke a whole lot more of that methamphetamine, most likely laced with fentanyl. But that hasn't been determined yet. Smoking all the meth that they could, Taylor was sitting there, with him, getting ready to do the dirty deed one more time when she started to choke her boyfriend, and something inside of her, by her own account, snapped, and she just couldn't find a way to stop. Smoking meth, choking another person is a deadly combination because the drug itself already is taken over a great portion of your mind, and your ambition and control is gone. But Taylor's Schabusiness, this was her thing. She loved to be choked while having sex, and she loved to smoke meth. And so did her boyfriend, by all accounts, by her account, I should add. So she started choking him, and she couldn't stop. And she found it invigorating to watch him gasping for air and turning blue and a light color purple, as she had mentioned. She then grabbed a chain that they had used to choke each other during their sexual encounters, wrapped it around his neck, and choked him until he was dead. She knew he was dead when she had left him there, and she then grabbed the last of the meth, smoked it all by herself, and he never moved. Now, what to do? What to do next? Taylor, she's not a very big woman. She's not a very strong woman, but she knew she had to take care of the situation. She's not even in her own home. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, she is in the basement of the home of her victim mother. They're in the basement of the victim's mother's home. She's got to take care of the situation. She has to make this problem go away. She walks up the stairs to the kitchen and grabbed not one, not two, but 3 different knives from the butcher block in the kitchen. Went downstairs and systematically started to try to dismember her boyfriend's body. First, removing his entire head. Trying with one knife that sliced into the flesh easily, but it would not go through the muscle. That knife was no good, tossing it aside. Then grabbing a second knife, more of a boning knife, but it still wasn't making of the job that easy. The third and final knife that she would use was a bread knife. A bread knife with a serrated edge that cut right through the muscle like there was nothing at all. And in no time, she had dismembered and removed his head, throwing it into a mop bucket at the foot of the bed by the stairs. Then she went from that to removing his genitalia. Then, after his genitalia was removed, removing the arms and legs from the torso. Then trying to find something to wrap up all the parts in. The massive amount of blood that had to be all over that mattress had to be extraordinary. Extraordinary. Again, I emphasize that. Grabbing some of the parts and walking out to her car, her van, and no less, putting the pieces in the car. She decided, what am I going to do with the internal organs and everything else that I removed? Because the torso itself is still too heavy to carry. So she removed the organs, the gut, the lungs, the heart, the liver, the pancreas. She removed all that to make the torso lighter. Deciding while sitting in her car where to go to get rid of the body. She drove down a desolate road at about 4 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, and decided discard them out into the fields, into the wooded area as I go. Throw some into the river, throw some into the creek, throw some into an abandoned parking lot. Anywhere, just get rid of them. But what Taylor's Schabusiness forgot was her victim's head in the bucket and a large portion of his body, parts of his body and torso in a duffel bag there at the home. She went home. She took a little bit of a nap, woke up with the pounding from the officers on the door. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when she left at 3 o'clock in the morning, she slammed the door of the home that belonged to her victim's mother. Slamming that door woke the mother up. She would walk downstairs at 3 o'clock in the morning, see that there was a light on, then get curious and walk down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, was the remains of her son's head in a mop bucket and massive amounts of blood all over the mattress, the wall, the floor. Her son had been chopped apart right there in her own home. That had to be the most horrific, grotesque thing that she'd ever experienced in her life. Not only is your son a meth head, but now he has been dismembered in your own home, and he's gone for good. No hope of him ever coming back from this. The trauma that she is going to have to live with the rest of her life. And then wondering, who could have done this? In short order, they would find out exactly who it was. She answers the door and says, "How can I help you?" And she had dried blood all over her clothes. She hadn't even bothered to change her clothes. They asked her to come down to the station. They arrested her, put her in the squad car, and then she just started talking about, "I got lazy. I was going to go back and get the rest of the body parts. I was going to go back and clean up the rest, but I got tired." Taylor Schabusiness has now been arrested, and a litany of charges are to come. But right now she is being held on first-degree murder, dismemberment of a body, and illegal dumping of a corpse. But even the DA said at this point in time, this is just the start of the criminal charges that she will face. This lady you see on your screen committed the most horrific crime you could imagine. A crime that is normally people only think of that a serial killer would commit. She could have just choked him to death and left his body there and walked out and said, "He was alive when I left," and let it be at that, and then make them try to prove that it was her. But now, even with the confession and everything, she gets her day in court. Taylor Schabusiness. What an horrific crime this lady has committed. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed the story. And if you have, and you enjoyed the content that I just provided for you, please give this video a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to this channel. I have new content that I put out 5 days a week, most weeks, every single day. And thank you again. And God bless each and every one of you out there, and the victim's family in this case. And yes, I have purposely removed the victim's name from the reporting in this case until all family members have been notified. And unfortunately, the victim does have family members who live overseas and have not been notified as of the 8th of March. But until then, I will not release the victim's name.